heart of innovation, this is Opportunities to Consider with your host, author, speaker, and corporate strategist, Hunter Gaylor.
With me is new to the streets Hunter Gaylor, who also does hunting opportunities to consider, where you're looking for like different kind of companies, right? And you brought quantum computing to new to the streets.
That's right.
Tell me how that all happened. How did that?
Well, what's really interesting is when you look at the industry right now, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Robert Lukowski, Bob, who's the CEO of Quantum. And I was just absolutely impressed with some of the innovations they're doing in quantum computing. The industry applications that their technology will enable in the future, it's a massive game changer. And I think when you spoke with him as well, you see the opportunities that his technology works for all industries, healthcare, medical, autonomous driving, you name it. But what also, Jane, really impressed me was the leadership and the background of the company. Very strong technology stack, very strong management and leadership. So, it's going to be really fascinating to watch the growth of the company.
Yeah. So, it's fascinating, just the quantum computing industry in general. I think everybody agrees that's where we're headed. The question is, when do we get there and how mature are we? What do you see this kind of having an impact on society, quantum computing?
Well, when I sat down with Bob and I was talking with him and really kind of understanding where they see it going, because they're the ones in the business.
Right.
They're the ones creating, they're on the front lines. Mm-hmm. I think it's creating the democratization of being able to solve problems at a much more rapid pace. Yeah. We really haven't had that before. But now that we have something that's more tangible, people like you and I will be able to, have access to devices now that can solve problems. Look at the technology in an iPhone today is more advanced than the space shuttle when we went to the moon. So you think about how technology is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and more affordable. And now with this chip that they have, it's really going to be remarkable to see where this goes. So I think we're going to see it very close. When I spoke with some of the leadership and learned about what they were doing more in depth, I think we're very close. Mm-hmm. I think we're very close, just based on my conversations.
Quantum computing is a leader in accessible, full-stack quantum solutions with the potential to change a lot of different industries. With me is Robert Lukowski, the CEO of Quantum Computing. So great to have you here. And let's just, explain the rationale for the company. Just give me an overview of the company, what it is you're doing, and then we'll dig a little deeper into it.
It's a great story, right? Quantum computing as an industry, and you may not know this, but it's really the next generation of computing, right? Today, everything we're doing is classical computing, right? All the things we see, even the supercomputing, that are based upon classical computing systems. Quantum computing as a domain is going to take really the next evolution of computing technology to do things that people are just dreaming about doing in terms of artificial intelligence, all sorts of different applications, everything from autonomous driving to new drug development, a whole spectrum. All will be enabled by quantum computing.
Yeah.
So QCI, Quantum Computing Inc., got into this industry about 5 years ago. We started up as a software development company, and the goal then was to really connect end users, non-quantum experts, to quantum computers. In the early stages, and even today, you have to be a really disciplined programmer, quantum programmer, to be able to access a quantum computer. So we developed a software stack that allowed any business user, or a really technologically savvy business user, to be able to run a problem on a quantum computer. And we were agnostic to the quantum industry. So we'd run on a D-Wave, an IonQ, et cetera. But we've recently changed, and we've evolved into what we'll call a quantum ecosystem, where we offer everything from software to hardware and some additional quantum-enabled technologies.
Yeah.
So the company is really, becoming a leader in this quantum computing space.
And then does that have to do with the acquisition of Q-Photon?
It does.
Okay.
That was a great enabling technology for us. So we did this acquisition back in June. As I said, we started off as a software company, and one of the impetuses behind us looking at this as an acquisition was the fact that, candidly, the technologies that are out there today And there's a whole stack of them, everything from IBM and Google and Microsoft and others that are doing these, developing quantum computers in a more classical way. We identified this technology as being something which was going to give us a real jump start into the industry. We weren't planning on being a hardware company, but with the acquisition of Q-Photon, we've become a hardware company. And we've actually become a full quantum solutions company. So that was a pivotal moment for us with this acquisition.
And you have a quantum chip as well.
We do. So there's a whole suite of capabilities that we have, right? So when we think about quantum computing, most people think about the actual computer. And when they think about the actual computer, oftentimes they think about the sort of chandelier image that IBM is putting out there because that's their machine. It's actually a beautiful looking machine. But what we've done is actually taken the reverse approach. We've developed practical quantum technologies, which is, in that world, is really kind of it's game changing because we have a room temperature desktop quantum computer. So while the other superconducting computers require cryogenics and really very heavily oriented infrastructure to support it, we don't require any of that. We can do on regular AC power in a room like this and on a desktop. But we use photonics for our quantum capabilities, not the more traditional gate model computer, and it makes a huge difference. But it's not just about computing, it's about all the other additional technologies. Like we have LiDAR, quantum imaging, cybersecurity. So we have a whole suite and a whole solution set that go along with this technology.
And all using the quantum. So let's talk about cybersecurity a little bit. What's your approach to that?
So cybersecurity is a very holistic approach, right? People focus, sort of the holy grail right now is looking at encryption and decryption, right? We all know that our US adversaries are intent on scooping up all of our secrets, right? And that is because they know that someday they'll be able to crack that code, that encryption, and they'll be able to do it with a quantum computer. But cybersecurity is so much more than just encryption, right? It's everything from peer-to-peer authentication. So I want to make sure that I'm actually doing a transaction with you and I know who you are. And I may not know who you are, but I want to be able to authenticate that you're the person that I want to communicate with. You need to have a secure capability to be able to do that, so it has to be encrypted. And you need a secure transport layer that'll actually allows you to do that. So quantum computing allows us to do all those things, and with our technology, we have that full stack quantum cybersecurity solution. So imagine you can no longer have to go for an X-ray or an MRI, but you can, with low power, at distance, be able to see inside the body and soft tissue and determine if there's a tumor there, right? So applications for mammograms or for other types of non-invasive low-powered capabilities is going to change the medical industry. We have the ability to use a LiDAR for autonomous driving or other autonomous types of vehicles. And so this type of technology is going to be game-changing.
Now, in your opinion, where would you say the U.S. ranks in terms of quantum computing versus some of the other countries in the world?
So it's a very competitive environment, right? I think it's difficult to say. I always, from an American's perspective, want to say we're the leaders in this technology. And I believe we are, but I don't believe that there's a big gap between us and our adversaries. We know our adversaries are very intent on trying to make leaps and bounds progress in quantum computing. And we're the kind of company that we are going to help contribute to that American stature in terms of that position and making sure that we stay in the forefront. We're very dedicated to that. You see what's going on in the industry today. A lot of investment going on in quantum computing, not just private sector. Government is very dedicated to this. The recent CHIPS Act, for example, is geared toward reshoring all chip manufacturing here. Well, quantum computing has a play there. You talked earlier about our chip. So core to our technology is a lithium niobate chip, right? New chip technology, not old chip technology. Part of the research and development money coming out of the CHIPS Act hopefully will come to us. It will enable us to be able to build our first laboratory to do that. And I'll tell you, I'm committed to doing that anyway, irrespective of government funding. But this is such a national security imperative that we believe that this is going to get funding from the government.
Absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much, Robert, for coming. Thanks.
Lameness issues, joint pain, and osteoarthritis can be difficult to treat and debilitating for an animal's health and well-being. Take control of lameness issues and joint pain. Introducing Spring, with OsteoCushion technology, a new intra-articular injectable veterinary medical device that goes beyond symptom management in horses and small animals to address the root cause of lameness issues and joint pain. When injected into a joint, Spring's naturally derived protein and carbohydrate components form a sterile, sponge-like, and shock-absorbing matrix that works with synovial fluid to mimic the protective form and function of healthy joint cartilage. Spring provides a scaffold that can protect the joint from further injury, unlike other conventional treatments that may only mask symptoms. Spring has provided potential long-term relief with just one injection. It has a demonstrated safety profile in animals with a track record of more than 5 years real-world experience in various joint types for horses and dogs. With just one injection, Spring with OsteoCushion technology targets the root cause of lameness issues, joint pain, and osteoarthritis, helping animals do what they do best.
Bill McGann, who is the Chief Technology Officer at Quantum Computing Incorporated, to explain what the company is doing and quantum computing in general. And I'll kick things off, and then we can both kind of chip in here. So there's something you've got, Bill, Entropy Quantum Computer. So can you explain what that is, what kind of problems it may solve?
Sure, and thanks for allowing me to be here with you this morning. So yeah, entropy quantum computing is a new concept for quantum information processing. And unlike the typical architectures that people are developing and talking about today, which are using semiconducting, sort of superconducting pairs of electrons or ion based formulations where they're building these pristine qubits, the systems that we're developing and designing are based on using the sources of what those systems would consider to be noise that they're trying to eliminate, and we're using them as a useful source of energy. So we're using the entropy of the environment to actually solve very complex quantum-based problems in the case of specific examples for constrained optimization. So examples would be very complex problems in supply chain, logistics, finance, even some of the areas of medical science where you are dealing with problems that contain lots of complex variables that have lots of interactions among them to build solutions to these problems that provide efficient answers to the world.
No, it's really incredible. And you spoke to a couple of the use cases, Bill, and one of them was finance. And there was a recent article that just came out about your company, which I found really incredible, that you're using your quantum systems with Rabobank for fraud detection. Can you talk to a little bit?
Sure, it's one of our first instances in the finance. We have a couple of others, but we've been working in partnering with them, going over what our technology can do in terms of their solutions. In the case of fraud detection, you're looking at very, very large sets of data that can either have a temporal base element to them, or they could have different sort of communities or clusters observations. And because they can be connected in very complex ways, we can use our entropy quantum computer and even some offshoots of that in our quantum machine learning applications to try to identify these anomalous transactions that would be considered fraudulent. So it's a new area. Our technology is very powerful. We've done some good demonstrations of our capabilities, which has led to this relationship with Rabobank. Very excited to solve some of those problems.
And on that note, there are other companies in the quantum space. Can you talk about how you are different from these other quantum computing solutions? So what makes you valuable and unique?
Yeah, as I alluded to earlier, so one of the real unique features of our core technology is that because we're using the environment as a source of energy rather than treating it as a source of noise, our systems can be constructed and architected very simply. Namely, they can run at room temperature. They run at very low levels of power, so their size, weight, power, or so-called swap C values are really efficient compared to the architectures that you are familiar with out there. The other thing that's really unique is that we can solve problems that are highly connected. So I alluded to the fact that real-world problems tend to have a lot of complexity in terms of the number of variables that can cause an effect or a result. And those variables interact with each other. Okay, so many of the other systems out there today are not able to efficiently connect or make all the interconnections among those variables and can only give, partial solutions. And we work very well with complex, dense problems that are of a scale that is interesting to the world today, not 3 years from now.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. How close are these to commercial applications?
We're doing them today, and because we're new into entering the market with this new technology, only about 6 or 7 months. The technology's been under development for more than a decade and a half.
Wow!
So we're just sort of peeling the curtain back right now. But the systems are available online, and we are actively seeking customers with use cases to solve these problems.
So with being able to solve some of these problems, can you talk a little bit? It seems that you would be a really great candidate for federal funding. Can you talk about, maybe your position in that?
I can talk a little about that. And yes, we are actively writing proposals to some government agencies in the energy sector. We can do a good job with energy optimization, grid optimization. We have some programs that we're anticipating with agencies that look at space and atmospheric science, using some of our other offshoots of the information processing, like the sensing, like LiDAR, for example, where we can use quantum information with light bouncing off the surface of the Earth to measure things like particle size, the depth of snow on mountains. And because you're using quantum information and counting single photons, the information power, or the power of the information that comes in a single photon is unique in terms of that approach.
From the LiDAR perspective, what you just spoke about, what about some of the applications when we were talking with the CEO in the healthcare and medical space?
Yes, so entropy quantum computing, as we describe it, is really a methodology. It's not a thing. We put it in a box and call it an entropy quantum computer, but we can also use that same core technology, namely leveraging the stochastic nature, the entropy of the world, to count single photons. We're a photonic processing technology, and those photons can be used to do medical imaging, for example. So we can do quantum imaging, and we have, I would say, a breadboard, not quite a prototype of a quantum imager running in our lab. We can look through soft tissue with visible light instead of x-rays. That's kind of a cool thing, right? Because if you want to go have mammography done, now you're talking about x-rays. We think we can do those things with optical light, with eye-safe radiation that really people don't think even penetrates your skin. But at the quantum level, information does penetrate and come back.
And that helps with like the radiation and things too that you get with X-rays, so that could be have some health issues.
Yeah, it does. It does, but also has a scientific impact because I used to develop X-ray imaging systems too. So many years ago, and X-rays are good at giving you contrast information, but those energies are so high that they really don't interact at a molecular level with the tissue inside your body. They look at it as contrast. The energies we're using actually interact at a molecular level. We can bring back information that X-rays cannot bring back.
Wow, very interesting. At a super
At a molecular level.
At a that's incredible.
You do spectroscopy if you want to throw a fancy word out.
Okay.
Well, there you go. We'll use that from here on out. That's very good.
It's spelling bee. Well, thank you so much. But fascinating, and the applications, I mean, are really exciting too, I think, for the future.
It really seems like it's a game changer in the industry, and that's what's really exciting about this. Hopefully one day we can get an intro, because photonic, whatever.
Come visit us in our lab. We'll do a demo of all those things I talked to you about.
That's really incredible. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. And is your lab in Boston?
Lameness issues, joint pain, and osteoarthritis can be difficult to treat and debilitating for an animal's health and well-being. Take control of lameness issues and joint pain. Introducing Spring with OsteoCushion technology, a new intra-articular injectable veterinary medical device that goes beyond symptom management in horses and small animals to address the root cause of lameness issues and joint pain. When injected into a joint, Spring's naturally derived protein and carbohydrate components form a sterile, sponge-like, and shock-absorbing matrix that works with synovial fluid to mimic the protective form and function of healthy joint cartilage. Spring provides a scaffold that can protect the joint from further injury, unlike other conventional treatments that may only mask symptoms. Spring has provided potential long-term relief with just one injection. It has a demonstrated safety profile in animals with a track record of more than 5 years real-world experience in various joint types for horses and dogs. With just one injection, Spring with OsteoCushion technology targets the root cause of lameness issues, joint pain, and osteoarthritis, helping animals do what they do best.
Quantum Computing Incorporated is on a mission to accelerate quantum computing for real-world business solutions. And with me is Rob Laskowski, the CEO of Quantum Computing, and Hunter Gaylor, who's going to be co-hosting with me on this interview. And so let's just start, Bob, with just tell us a little bit about the quantum chip and bring us up to date with what the company's been doing since last time we talked.
It's great to be back.
Yeah.
I know you had Bill McGann in the last segment that we did this, and Bill kind of went deep into the technology. And I want to kind of bring it back up to talking about the company a little bit more and telling you about what we're doing. So since we last met, we launched our subscription service to our Dirac Entropy quantum computer. So the public now, or paying customers, actually have access to the quantum computer via the web. And we're actually executing on some contracts with that right now. I think we announced the Rabobank contract during Bill's time here. And we're marching down that path, right? So we're actually commercially in the marketplace today, and we're executing on that. But we've also begun to roll out some other applications besides just the quantum computing piece, which I'm sure we'll be talking about today.
Yeah.
Well, and one of those, you mentioned Rabobank in the past, and Bill talked about that.
Right.
That's cybersecurity. So there's a huge play for marketability. Can you talk to where your company is in launching applications in the cybersecurity space?
Yeah, you bet. In fact, with Rabobank, we're actually doing fraud detection. So it's a different form of cybersecurity. It's actually looking at transactions to be able to determine if they're fraudulent or not. And they do, millions of transactions. So it's got to be done quite robustly. On the cybersecurity piece, what's really interesting, it's got applications across the spectrum of domains, right? Not just fintech and financial applications, but it's got infrastructure implications to it, general business uses to it. So there's a lot of different ways that cybersecurity, as we know, it's a very topical thing, impacts our daily life. quantum technologies are going to be able to make that life so much more secure than what we're currently doing today. And arguably, we are doing that. We're just launching off our cybersecurity product, which is going to enhance that capability. It's actually going to bring quantum technologies into the cybersecurity space.
Wow. And quantum sensing, we talked a little bit about quantum sensing last time. Can you talk to a little bit about where that's going to fit into the market?
Let me just kind of cap off on the cyber side. I believe from a company standpoint, that's really going to make our mark in the commercial space today. I think the cyber piece of this is going to be huge because of just the vulnerabilities we have. But equally as opportunistic for us, or at least an opportunity, not necessarily opportunistic, is moving into the sensing space and applying quantum technologies to things like medical imaging. Being able to use low power to do what X-rays can do today, or CT scans. You'll be able to do that with our quantum imaging technology, effectively using a LiDAR type of technology. And there's other types of sensing technologies. So we talk about LiDAR. LiDAR for autonomous vehicles or for a whole myriad of uses, but the most popular one that people think about is of course the autonomous driving vehicles, and being able to see further, more fidelity around the imaging, better speeds, acquisition of the image in front of you and processing that information. That's all quantum photonics or quantum LiDAR capability powered by photonics. Other types of imaging and sensing types of capabilities we have that we're going into the marketplace with are the ability to determine stress fractures or weaknesses in metals, for example. So we have something called a vibrometer, which can actually at distance determine the weaknesses in a bridge. So for infrastructure applications, this would be a great technology. Of course, where I came out of with Homeland Security, it was all about infrastructure. And the road infrastructure or aircraft wings and things like this, those types of infrastructures they fail, and the more we can get insight into them, obviously the safer they can be.
Yeah.
And some other corporate development that we read about is your random number generator, or your quantum random number generator. Can you talk a little bit about, walk us through what that is and what the potential market applications are for something like that?
So that's I'd say our first, outside of our computational capability, our Dirac, that's our first real product in the quantum space, outside of our computational capability. A quantum random number generator. So random number generators have been around for a long time, right? And they're used for security, they're used for simulations in the financial markets and the risk management markets, but they're not really random. There's a pseudo component to that. So pseudo random number generators still do a great job in the marketplace today, but they reach their limit. So for folks who are really doing the hardcore financial analysis that's going on, developing simulations on financial modeling, need to have true random number generators. And with our quantum capability, we've developed a truly random quantum random number generator. That number will never repeat in our lifetime.
Oh, wow.
So it may not mean anything to the average individual, but to the people who are really, like I said, in the simulations market, risk management, in cybersecurity or in encryption, it really is very meaningful.
Yeah.
So we're an entrant in that marketplace. It's a big market. I'm not going to make my company's business around this, but clearly it's a great opportunity for us to get into the marketplace.
It kind of sounds like something like a casino would use, like
Exactly.
gaming.
Right, gaming, exactly.
Brokerage firms.
That's a perfect application for it. So anywhere you have these sort of randomness types of events, they have to be generated by something that a random number generator is really predicated on.
Yeah, the casinos, the house is now really always going
That's right, that's right. Or it becomes more fair.
Right, or it becomes, there you go.
That's
That's right.
interesting.
That's
Now,
right.
about the Dirac entropy quantum computer.
Yes.
Explain that, and how does that give an edge?
So we've talked a little bit about quantum computing. I know Bill went into it pretty deeply, probably the last time he was here. But we talked about the differences. So our competitors, such as the IBM, they're going for gate model computers using superconductive. They have to be in a pristine environment. That's why they have to be really virtually absolute zero. The atoms have to be frozen. There's a big investment in maintaining that infrastructure so you can do the calculations. And there's a lot of error correction that has to go on just because of the way the calculations go. Because they don't want to have any noise, right? Conversely, with photonics, noise is our friend. We need a noisy environment. The entropy in the environment is what powers the quantum computing aspects of what we do. So that therefore allows us to be room temperature in a very scalable device using wall plug, 110 volt power, and we use less than 80 watts of power to do our computations. So so comparing the two just at that level is pretty interesting. However, what we're already doing that they can't do, and frankly nobody else is doing, is doing large-scale problems. So we can do 11,000 qubit problems, 11,000 variables today, right? Non-error corrected, because there's no error correction required. So 11,000 qubits to us is 11,000 qubits. Whereas in the classical, the gate model computer, 100 qubits might be 1 or 2 or 10 error-corrected qubits. So it gives us that capability of being able to do much bigger problems, more complex problems today, and that's exactly what we've launched.
Can you highlight, based on that information, where you are in the market? What are some potential milestones that you think that your company can reach? And whether that's the commercially viable applications that you spoke about, or some potentially strategic partnerships, governments, large corporations. Talk to us a little bit about where you think that's going to go.
Yeah, so since we've done the acquisition, we've moved very aggressively into the marketplace, and we've become a full-stack quantum computer, as I've mentioned before. What that enables us to do is to be not just a computing company, but an applications, a quantum applications and solutions company. So we have a very diverse portfolio that we can go into the marketplace with, and that's exactly what we're doing today. So I mentioned some of the sensing technologies. Those are applications that we're moving into the marketplace today for sale, right? So, the milestones you talk about, right? So it'd be great if we could sell this, some of these applications to the federal government, particularly on the cybersecurity side. You can imagine that places like, Homeland Security and other, agencies that are dealing in very sensitive information would want to have those types of encryption capabilities. Similarly, banks would want the same thing. So for me, making a sale to a large bank for our cybersecurity capability in the next year would be a great milestone. Getting government contracts. Clearly we've set up a government subsidiary that we can just do government-only work, because that's the way the government works. They want to make sure that they have a sort of a clean organization they can do business with. And by that I mean, one that can really stand up to all the requirements the government has to meet their security requirements. So we have a government subsidiary for that. That allows us to be able to sell to the government. So imagine this year for us, a major milestone would be at least 1 or 2 federal contracts that would be able to go either for the entropy quantum computer or one of the applications. The LiDAR would be very interesting for us to be able to get into the government. So there's a number of applications there. So I see us being fully pointed in the commercial space and also focused on the government space. So we're really diversifying in the area. I think we're going to have a very good year for us in terms of the commercial applications and getting the quantum technologies in the commercial space.
And this definitely sounds like it could be a very pivotal year for the company and for quantum computing
in
general, for the technology.
So it's, if I may, just to kind of build on that point, so the marketplace has really turned around. There was some skepticism about quantum computing, and I still think there's some laggards out there, folks who don't believe that they're really, quantum computing is going to be real. But more and more folks we're talking to are less concerned about the technology and more concerned about the results. They're buying into the fact that quantum computing is actually going to deliver results that they can't get out of traditional computing. And once they cross that Rubicon, there's just no going back, right? They know they can do something better, they can get better results with it, and that's what they're expecting, and that's exactly what we're delivering.
Well, and has there ever been a technology where there haven't been skeptics in the beginning?
Never.
So, I mean, you can't.
Exactly.
Yeah. Bob, thank you so much. Hunter,
Yeah,
thank
thank
you
you.
as
Absolutely.
well.
Thank you,
So
Shane.
interesting.
Thank you,
Thanks
Bob.
for the update.
I appreciate it.